Yeah, when you really talk about D&I and what it means, I don't really know that I even understood the term D&I when I really started out in this profession a long time ago back in the UK. I'm a visible minority. I was in the UK. I was a visible minority when I came to Canada. What was really important to me was that individuals who looked like me, thought like me, would get great opportunities to advance their career in an organization and make a real impact, not just in an organization, but in society more generally. So it was always on my mind. So when I got the chance to get involved at PwC on the D&I side, it was just such a natural thing to do. We all know that diverse organizations and diverse teams perform way better than teams that don't have diversity. It's been proven over and over again. And so, there's no point just having teams who all look the same, they think the same. They're never going to come up with great ideas that are going to be different to everyone else's. Whether you're a female, whether you're black, whether you are LGBT, etc., it doesn't matter. There should be a place in every organization where you can fit in and you can really contribute. So you'd set up employee resource groups. They could be an LGBT group. It could be a black employee group. It could be a Muslim group. But it really allowed these individuals to come together, share their successes, but also some of their frustrations in an organization, so they could actually bring them to the leadership, and they would have a voice that we could all listen to as part of the leadership team. It also allows these individuals to then more fully engage and be way more productive in an organization. It's just such a better place for everyone to be in when you can do that.
Embracing technology is key to being a CPA. There's been so much change in what's available to you and the tools that are available to you to use in your business, whether that be looking at data analytics, whether that be looking at different ways on reporting on things, and whether it be an element of AI in your business too. And it's critical for CPAs to keep up with what's going on there, because it will become not just part of perhaps how you report on business, but also how you can be more proactive in the business to help decision making rather than perhaps be reactive. So if you don't know about AI, or you don't know about new reporting tools, or you don't know about new technology, whether it be server technology, email technology, whatever it may be, learn about it. Don't just rely on your IT team. Often you're leading that team. You've got to know enough that you can perhaps help direct what is going on in that area, and think about how it's going to augment what you do and be of value to your business. That's where CPAs have so much value. They're like, how can we think about what we do in a different way to make the business better? You think about it in the language of a CPA. Not everybody speaks that language. In fact, some people don't speak the numbers language at all. So if you're describing how you're going to do something, or you're going to change something, how are you going to make it palatable? Be curious about everything, whether it be your professional life or whether it be things that you do outside. The world is a fascinating place. There is so much that is changing so fast that sometimes it can make your head spin. Find out about stuff. And that's where CPAs are so important. It's not a one-size-fits-all designation. We are so incredibly versatile. Don't lose that versatility. Learn new things every day that you can. And in doing that, you become more versatile. You become more relevant. You become more interesting. And you will have an incredibly varied career, which I've been fortunate to have.
Right now, I'm currently doing procurement and contract management. And it's interesting because I get to cross many different fields In my current role, I support 4 different ministries in the province. So there's a lot of different areas, some very business focused, other not. So it's a interesting field. I get to bring in my accounting knowledge and the procurement and the contract world and bring them all together. Part of our role, we're sort of the guardians or the custodians of a lot of spending. For example, across my 4 ministries I support, probably 85% of our funding or expenses flow through some form of a contract. So we get to touch a lot of this. So one of our key roles is responsible for making sure compliance with things like trade agreements, government policy. That's sort of the obvious thing what we do. But I think we take it one step further and we look at things like what are the needs of the program teams that we're supporting and trying to balance the needs of them, the wants of the private or the citizens of BC. So it's always the citizens want more, but there's unfortunately in the government world there's never enough money to do everything that everybody wants. So it's how can we find the right balance, make sure we're on side all the rules, and still do great program delivery. It's bringing that that experience and that knowledge base to the front so people know you've got a lot of experience behind a lot of exposure, that when you're speaking, you know you're bringing sort of a ground truth. You're not just making things up, but you understand process, you understand rules. And one of the fun parts I have is trying to translate the very technical talk into more layman's language. And a lot of people go, well, what is a financial statement? So how to explain, in 15 minutes to a non-accountant, how to read a set of financial statements, how to read an audit report, and to a level where they can say, okay, this makes sense. Now I can tell, is this recipient in good financial shape? Should I continue to support them, or is there an issue we should look forward for?
I think in my experience, one of the things that is really important in driving growth successfully is being relentlessly client-focused. So understanding where clients are versus where you might want them to be, really meeting them where they are, and forcing organizations like ours at PwC to really pay attention to the client versus ourselves. We're very proud of what we do. We have deep expertise, but that doesn't translate into value for clients unless you can focus on them and understand how it is they're experiencing a problem or an opportunity. And I think what I've been able to do at PwC with a lot of talented people around me, obviously as a team, is help our partners and our people really be client focused in terms of what do they need. And it might not be just from one part of PwC. It might take 2 or 3 different skill sets to actually bring the client the kind of expertise and value that they're needing. And that, I think, has made a big difference in terms of us being successful in that growth. I think maybe the moment that for me stands out as having a big impact, particularly in the field of sustainability. One of our clients, the board and the executive team, were really struggling with whether or not they were doing the right things around sustainability. The sustainability leader for the organization was excellent, but really struggling to communicate with the board and the management team. So no shared language or shared trust about what was happening. And for me, helping them actually learn how to communicate. So how do you share things with the board and the executive team in a way that makes sense and follows the other business principles of running a sound business? And for the board and the executive team, helping them learn some of the language about what was actually going to be material and important to them to understand about it, and demystifying it for both was really impactful for me. And that's, I think, when I realized that skill set, and in particular, I think it comes very naturally to CPAs, was really missing in bridging the gap between some of the important things companies needed to do, but doing them in a way that the board and the leadership teams understood and agreed that they were the right things to do for the right reasons.
When I look back at my early days in my career and what desire I had to go and be a CPA, it was really, I look back, I would say, in my high school days, really. And I just loved working with numbers initially. And I didn't really know that I really wanted to become, a CA at that time. But I just kept along that path, and I had a few friends that were doing it, and I think that's what also guided me. And where it's taken me, I would say at the early days, would I always stay in public practice, or would I go off into industry or go and buy a business? But I really loved my career in working in public practice. I love working with people. And someone asked me today, what do you do? I probably wouldn't actually say that I'm an accountant, because that's not if you think of a traditional accountant, that's not what I do today. I'm a trusted business advisor, and it's working with clients and helping them along their journey. The first major transaction I was involved in was in 2006. And there was 3 shareholders, 2 were in Canada, 1 was in the US. And the ones certainly in Canada were very much hands-on day-to-day in the operation. The other guy was a bit more of a financial type shareholder. We had to go back and upgrade their financial statements to audits. We did great structuring for the client, from negotiating the deal and great tax savings. And at the end of it, on the Friday when the client got the check, I was so excited for him. It was the first major transaction that I had been involved in. On Monday, the one shareholder came into my office. And he said, I don't know what to do. I'm lost. We sold our business. This was my identity. And he was lost. And I felt sick because I thought we did everything right through this transaction over the last 8 to 10 months. We did everything right. I would have given us an A+. And I didn't realize that I hadn't talked to him about any of the soft side of things. And I think for me, that was one of the biggest things where I wanted to go into succession planning and help clients with all the soft side of things and not just always focus on the numbers. It was all that other stuff that I needed to deal with. And so I changed.
I really enjoy the mining sector. It's a resilient group. They're used to the ebbs and flows of the market, the regulatory environment, environmental sort of challenges and obstacles and the like. So, because of that ebb and flow, they're good people, right? You can't get too high, can't get too low. So I've had the privilege over the years to work with a lot of the more prominent leaders of the larger mining companies in BC and Canada, and helping them through a variety of different issues, everything from acquisitions to technology transformations, a full package of things. But I guess a highlight for me has been, I've always had a good relationship with the federal government as they look to develop policy for the mining sector. And more recently, was asked to join a very small group that's looking to advance the critical mineral strategy within Canada. So I think that's important for Canada, and I was pleased to be asked. I'm optimistic that we can look to make the right decisions to drive success for Canada in this I guess, pardon the pun, critically important initiative with critical minerals. In fact, my older son is a CPA and he's with Endeavour Mining. And not just suggesting because my son is in it, you're only limited by your imagination as far as the number of opportunities that are out there in mining. And if we look across the cross-section, a lot of CEOs are CPAs, CFOs naturally. It's just a lot of the prominent board members in the city are CPAs as well. So there's a breadth, but I think what's coming around the corner clearly is the importance of data and more specifically AI. So if you're a young CPA joining a mining company, the one thing that's pretty consistent with all mining companies is they have, lots of data. And if you're bright and eager and energetic, being in a position to interpret that data effectively to drive the right business decisions for the organization is really going to set yourself apart.
I've had a little bit of a varied career. I've tried a little bit of everything in my career. So I started out with a large firm, but in a really small office. So I really loved working with public companies in the tech space, which at that time in Vancouver was really taking off. And then I decided one day I needed to try industry. So I left and I went to industry for a couple of years with an online retailer, just as that was sort of picking up, and spent a few years there kind of figuring out their financial reporting solutions and getting all of that implemented, and realized I really loved public practice. And so I went back to public practice at that point, spent a few years back in practice, doing various projects and also working with public companies. And then had an opportunity about almost 10 years ago. So I moved over to BDO at that point, and it's been a whirlwind since. I spent a lot of years just working with the Vancouver team, supporting their quality efforts, and then took that to a national level with public companies. And then a couple years ago, I was asked to lead the whole assurance practice for the West. To lead and develop my team, I think it means keeping your head on a swivel and always being available to hear input and to be available for people as they're facing challenges. Top of mind, I just want to make sure that our team has the best opportunities for learning and growing and developing into their careers, knowing that some of the people are going to be with us for a really long time and some of the people are going to be with us for a short time, but I want their experience to be memorable and to think of us as they move forward in the world. It's not always about what your career and what you're going to do, but you need to always be thinking of building the people behind you to take over from you.
When I was at TK, they'd tried and failed to implement enterprise risk management before I arrived. And so when I said that I wanted to initiate this program, they were very skeptical and thought that it really wouldn't be successful in the organization. And I was able to do it, and it turned out to be very successful. In fact, the board of directors, who were also on boards of other companies, said it was one of the best they'd seen and hailed it as best of breed. A lot of times they would call me up and say, is it okay if we pass on your materials to our executive team in this other company? And usually I'd always say, yeah, as long as you make sure that there's nothing confidential in there, you can at least take the framework. So I took a lot of pride in that. Being a CPA and being involved in a lot of the ethics and compliance functions really helped me, because it gave me a lot of insight into how things work and just the way that fraud is perpetrated. And so that gave me a lot of insight that helped me to be able to help out companies in their journey towards being free of corruption. The Maritime Anti-Corruption Network grew from a small group of shipping companies to combat corruption at the ports and canals. And so what had happened is that over time it became customary to give large amounts of money to facilitate through the ports, or a large number of cartons of cigarettes. And so what we did in the MACN is we banded together as a group of shipping companies to combat corruption by putting pressure on the governments. And it was very successful. We grew the membership from a small number of companies to over 80% of the world's tonnage. And we were very successful in combating corruption in the ports. I got the opportunity to become the vice chairman, and that was really special because it gave me a chance to really influence a lot of leaders in many shipping companies and mentor them on how to fight corruption.
Leadership is about one thing. It's about how you care about people. Fundamentally, my leadership style is collaborative, strategic, and growth-oriented. Why do I say that? It's really about a number of things. One, it's about the importance of consistency in my own conduct. Secondly is really, I feel it's incredibly invaluable for the people who work with me to understand how I make decisions. This creates a transparency and a holistic ability to be able to discuss, I think, differing opinions as we make decisions together. The collaboration really comes from, I think, my genuine love for cross-functional, not just ability to lead different teams, but to be able to have the potential to see how they're going to grow and evolve to manage a more complex and diverse marketplace. Being in multiple industries has helped that a lot. I think this relates back to, when you're interning in a public practice firm and you understand why you're being tossed into different companies, different backgrounds, that ability to adapt very quickly to a number of different changing factors has been able to shape, I think, my leadership ability to support others. But more importantly, my leadership style has been really heavily influenced by mentorship and challenges. This has helped me cultivate, I suppose, a more strategic ability to put a number of different connecting points together and be able to communicate that effectively to both management as well as key stakeholders and investors. One of the greatest, I think, things that I've learned, a lesson that I've learned from my mentors, is the ability to empower teams. This whole culture of accountability is going to be very important, particularly in the modern world that we're actually going to be facing.
There were two pivotal events in my career. One was buying my own company, and I did that after being in the corporate world for a number of years. And I had a passion that I believed in people and in organizations that support people, and that we could do great things if you give people the skills and the tools and the motivation and the values they needed to be the best they could be. And so this was a transportation services company. Our reputation is built on how we service our customers, and a highly technical area. We had a strong value system on service, integrity, respect, SIR. That was our motto. That's how we did our business. And we built an amazing company, and I'm very, very proud of the company we built. After I sold that company, then I ended up in the world where the corporate boardrooms were being reshaped for a whole bunch of reasons, including Enron and WorldCom, and they needed new audit committees, and they needed to be retooled. They needed financial experts on the board. They needed good governance, which was sort of a new term and not that well defined, but good governance needed to be done. And it sort of lined up well with where I was and what I believed in. I was a financial expert. I had executive and strategic background, and I was a woman. In the industrial sector, there weren't a lot of women who did what I did. And I was on a number of boards in public, private, family, not-for-profit. But my two favorites, one is Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers, which is a local Vancouver success story. We run international auctions around the world on heavy equipment. And it's a company that's always been based on people and integrity and having fun and bringing value to the marketplace. And then Goldcorp, which was a premier gold mining company, again, Vancouver success story, that really started setting new standards for corporate social responsibility in the mining sector, and how we treated the environment, how we treated the people in the communities, how we fit into the communities we work with. Anyway, both of them were very rewarding boards to be on. I'm very proud of both companies.
We never really started with this goal to build a firm. Myself and a fellow named Bill McCartney, who were friends, we met at SFU. And we had both gone our own way. I went to Thorne Riddell, which was the predecessor to KPMG. And he was at Touche Ross, which is the predecessor to Deloitte's. And then after we both got our CAs in those days, I wasn't really looking to move, and he had left to go to a mid-sized firm, and a few months after the busy season, he convinced me to join that firm. So I went there, and that was a lot of fun, but it just, we needed a change after about 3 years, and so we decided, well, let's just set up our own, and that's kind of how it started. It wasn't a vision. You know, all these young students always say, well, what was your business plan? We didn't have a business plan. You know, my wife had a job, his wife had a job. We could pay the rent, and that was our business plan. And then it just sort of slowly grew from there, and we didn't merge, we didn't buy a firm, we just slowly brought the right people in, and that's kind of how it got to where it was. It wasn't a big plan, it was just evolution and 40 years of hard work. But the fact that, we've got, 160 people now, we have 23 partners, and I think that's probably the proudest achievement, is the fact we managed to keep it together, and we've got succession. So I think with this foundation that's been put in place, I think they're looking to continue growing slowly, and stay away from mergers, stay away from being gobbled up. The leadership group is young and bright, and they're dedicating a lot of their time to the leadership as opposed to chargeable hours at this point. It's been an amazing voyage.
I was very lucky in my position, because I had a great example and a mentor in Woody Hayes to show me what volunteering in the profession could be. And as somebody coming from a smaller community, it really installed the confidence in me that I could actually be part of a profession and go over and make decisions. So that was a really big thing. And our firm itself, our legacy firm, Hayes Stewart Little and Company, certainly had a lot of people, partners of mine and other professional staff that were very involved. So we were involved on purpose. Not only did we get to know what was going on in the profession, but we also, and we could bring that back to our professional staff and our clients. And probably one of the bigger events that I was able to participate in, and that was taking part in the unification of the profession. And I was really fortunate to be able to sort of come along with an incredible group of leaders in all the legacy bodies, both volunteer leaders and the executive teams in all the organizations, to do something which people thought would never be able to be done. And it was a great journey to be able to go through that. And we had a tradition in our legacy body of going on the road and doing the tour around the province, and I got the opportunity to do that with the leaders of the two other accounting bodies, Simon Philp and David Sale at the time, and to be able to get to know those leaders in a much different way, whereas 5 years ago we were adversaries, and now we're friends. And it was so rewarding to be able to see the progress that we had made and the way that everybody was aligning in a similar way and doing the right thing. So, I would say that the three of us really got the fun, the fun part of going through unification. And it was really, really great to be able to work with them in particular and travel around the province. So that was definitely a highlight.